So the next chapter is on weather forecasting, and we're going to talk about weather satellites. And actually, there are definitely some weather satellites just dedicated to tracking hurricanes. One such satellite can actually, it's called a scatterometer, it uses a scatterometer, and that almost sounds like a cartoon word, but literally it, from above, it can actually penetrate all the chaos and see what the waves are doing of the ocean, and that's an indication of what sort of wind speed you have. This one right here, the second one, this one over here, so this is a scatterometer. This one right here actually is from another satellite called the Tropical Rainfall Measuring Mission. So it's not just for hurricanes, but when a hurricane is there, it can actually, you can get a sense for the spiral rain bands kind of here, and it looks for, it monitors the intensity of rainfall. So there's actually a few kind of what they call kind of hot spots or hot towers with regard to rainfall associated with that hurricane. Super Typhoon Haiyan. Remember that if the tropical cyclone is in a particular part of the world over here in kind of around China-ish, okay, they call it a typhoon instead of a hurricane. And you can kind of see where it, we talked the other day how it, notice it must have been picking up energy, just kind of like we heard on the video. Here it's downgraded, 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 and it goes over China, and it's finally just a Category 1. A lot of destruction. A lot of destruction. So hurricanes, unlike tornadoes, when we talked about tornadoes, remember we said we used the enhanced Fujita scale and their EFs, and with tornadoes you can only gauge them after they get you, after they go past. With hurricanes, they're monitoring them as they live. So there are these reconnaissance airplanes that actually fly through, and they drop, I thought we talked about this maybe, they drop stuff down inside the hurricane to get a sense for winds. Doppler radar, remember what Doppler radar is when we talked about, you can see a tornado vortex signature with the Doppler radar. It's not regular radar, it gives you motion. And I think this is kind of neat. Your textbook kind of talks about how multiple equipment gets together to kind of get the sense for, works together to get the sense of what what's going on in the hurricane. So this is kind of showing you, well, this one over here is Doppler radar, kind of gives you direction. And this one is showing you the squiggly line is the anticipated pressure of the hurricane based upon those equipment working together, and then the dots right here is what it really was. So not bad. So another way to kind of get a sense for what a hurricane may or may not do is to know what the ocean temperatures are. Bless you. Remember we said that there's 3 criteria. Warm water is one of them. So this is just an example of, for instance, out here in the middle of the ocean, there's nobody out there to get that data. That's just kind of automatically sent from those buoys. So like the video said, the folks behind the scenes that work specifically with hurricanes are the National Hurricane Center, the NHC, and they are in Florida. The deadliest hurricane ever, and I think we saw a little bit of video on that, or a little bit of video on the documentary we watched, was the Galveston hurricane. Remember, they got creamed 25 years later, so 1900 and 1925. So we have come a long way. just like we have tornado watches and tornado warnings, so also we have hurricane watches and hurricane warnings. I believe these are both put out by the National Hurricane Center, but they're a lot more in advance than the tornado watch and warning. So on the last slide, you're going to see something, I love the term, a forecast cone. Not so surprising, when the farther away you look from now, there's more and more uncertainty into where the path of your hurricane will be. So I think that maybe was it Mr. Nagel, the Mayor Nagel of New Orleans? I mean, when it comes time for him to address the people of the city, you know, he can't cry wolf. He can't say it's going to be terrible, and it's not, but it's a tough one. It is a tough one. So this is the last slide. You can kind of see, let's see. So based upon what we've been talking about, of course, H's are hurricanes, and S would be it's downgraded to a tropical storm. And you can kind of see how it jig-jags. Yeah. And like a few slides ago, you know, the National Hurricane Center are plugging their numbers. The slide said they are plugging their numbers through computer models. And we'll be talking more about that in the next chapter. All right.